reform initiatives that the governor is proposing, they're very, very bold and needed. For some years, I think some of you may remember, we formed something called the Virginia Reform Initiative, which is a 501c4 organization. And its purpose has been to investigate and determine ways that the government can deliver government services more effectively, more efficiently, and more economically. And I think a lot of what we're going to hear today is a strong continuation of that. The particular part of the program that I'm involved with is some very important reform that we have started and we're not finished with yet, and that's reform of our retirement system, the Virginia retirement system. Basically speaking, the VRS is an unsustainable situation. It's a defined benefit plan where people are, retirement plans are based on number of years of service and average salary times a multiplier, and that's their retirement benefit. It's much like Social Security. And like Social Security, it's facing a lot of the demographic problems where you're having more and more retirees living longer and longer and less of a base to support them. And it's no accident that practically every private sector business in the country has switched from a defined benefit plan to what they call a defined contribution plan, which is like a 401k plan or an IRA plan. We're not suggesting anything that bold, but the governor has proposed legislation that will significantly impact in a positive way the cost that the state is having to pay to continue with their retirement system. There are two bills that have been introduced, and Chris Jones is the chief co-patron with me. That means he'll probably be doing most of the heavy lifting, but we both feel very strongly about the need for this retirement. And there's been a task force which the governor convened that's been dealing with the retirement system for the past 6 months or so, and this is kind of a result of that. Plus, JLARC had a very in-depth report that many of you may have seen dealing with some of these same concerns. As I say, there's two pieces of legislation. The first piece of legislation deals with several different ways of cutting the cost to the plan and improving the viability of the plan. It will reduce the retirement multiplier for new employees, for new hires, from 1.7 to 1.6. And that simply means if I work for the state for 25 years and have an average salary over the last 5 years, because we're going to change that component too, of $30,000 a year, you multiply 30,000 times 25 times 1.7, and that's how you get your benefit today. What the governor is suggesting, what this legislation suggests, which I support, is reducing that multiplier from 1.7 to 1.6 for new hires only. It's not going to impact current employees. The plan also has, the present plan also has a very generous cost of living adjustment, a COLA. And what this legislation will do will be to put a cap on that COLA of 3%. And what it basically requires, if inflation goes up 4% or more, the COLA, the cost of living adjustment for retirees, won't be more than 3%. Another thing, and I alluded to this a moment ago, is that your retirement basis will be based upon your average annual salary. Under current law, it's your average annual salary for the last 36 months, 3 years. We're going to expand that to 5 years, the last 60 months that you worked. And probably the most controversial part of it will be we're also going to require state employees only, not teachers, not local people, to contribute an additional 1% of their salary to the pension plan. Last year, you'll recall, we increased, we had the present employees contribute 5%. We gave them a 5% raise to mostly offset that. This 1% will be phased in over 2 years, 0.5% a year, and it is very necessary in order to ensure the plan's solvency. The second bill that we have changes for new employees. It gives them an option of either taking the defined benefit plan or what we call a hybrid plan. It's part defined benefit, part defined contribution, like the 401k IRA that I was talking about earlier. And there are a lot of benefits to employees of the defined contribution plan. Over a long period of time, you can prove statistically that they'll be able to have a better retirement at the end of 25 or 30 years from having invested in a defined contribution plan rather than the typical defined benefit plan. The hybrid plan is a compromise. Several states have looked into this already. Virginia is not alone in realizing that the present system that we have is antiquated. And states as diverse as Utah and Rhode Island have passed sweeping reform in the way they do their pension plan. Both of their reforms include a hybrid plan, similar to what the governor is proposing. There's a long way to go. We have a lot of work to be done in committee. We have a lot of decisions that need to be made, but I am hopeful and confident that at the end of the day, we will be able to complete this session and say we've done a lot to make the Virginia retirement system more sound, more secure, so that it can provide benefits for generations down the road. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chris?
Todd. Good morning, everybody. I'm Delegate Todd Gilbert. I represent the 15th House District of Virginia. I am here today to talk to you about the fact that I'm carrying the governor's reorganization plan, which is now styled on the House side as House Bill 1291. The bill is the product of the Governor's Commission on Reform and Restructuring, and represents a common sense, long overdue effort to reduce and streamline Virginia's government. This is the first step to ensure that duplicative, outdated, unnecessary, and ineffective services and service delivery methods are eliminated, and to ensure that state revenues are dedicated to the core functions of government. The #1 goal of this legislation is to protect taxpayer dollars and to create a more efficient, more effective form of government. For those of you who are wondering where we're at procedurally right now with this bill, and of course the bill is long and involved, it involves the elimination of 2 state agencies, the merging of 7 state agencies into other agencies, elimination of 19 boards and commissions, merging 23 boards and commissions to form 11 boards and commissions, moving 4 offices and initiatives, and deregulating 3 professions. The bill is to be heard tomorrow in a special subcommittee of general laws, which will be chaired by the chairman of general laws, I believe, Delegate Jones, and we will have a long and involved, is that right, Mr. Speaker? 9 o'clock tomorrow. And we will have a very long and involved and spirited discussion of these various moving parts. And we're very much looking forward to making the case that some of these reforms are long overdue. Many of these things are wasteful and, again, duplicative, and that we can be more efficient in the way we deliver services to the people of Virginia. So with that, thank you, Delegate Peace, and we'll take questions at the end, right? That's right.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Byron, and I am a delegate from the 22nd House District, and I have the pleasure of sponsoring House Bill 1295 for the governor's office. And what this bill does is look at the local mandates that we have, I think, unintentionally placed on our local governments. None of us in state government like the mandates that are placed on us in state government. We have to deal with them in our budgetary process and other ways. And the local governments feel the same way. And as we have begun the process the last several years of looking a lot closer at the core services that we provide and our budgets with a tough economic situation, we have been able to focus more on some of these policies that, while well-intended, have also brought budgetary restraints that we have put on local government. And what the governor did last year, and I thank him for his leadership in that, is formed a task force of folks, local government, all different areas that have dealt with the mandates on local governments, and this is the results of that. And there are over 24 mandates. This is a beginning step. 24 mandates that are currently imposed on local government that are going to be addressed in this bill. And I look forward to looking at how we can help alleviate some of those mandates and look a little closer at some of our policies and continue to look in the future when we put policies out that we think about how this is going to be implemented on the local level and how they are going to continue to fund those. So I will also be available for questions and look forward to the bill progressing through its committee structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Delegate Farrell.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Delegate Peter Farrell. I represent the 56th House District. I'm carrying House Bill 520. First, I would like to thank the Governor's Office for their work on this bill with me. They've been cooperative and open and helpful. I think in its final form, the bill essentially calls for the Inspector General's office to come up with protocols as to how to best perform a performance review of state agencies to make sure that the sum of monies appropriated for certain items are spent on those items and that they're spent effectively. And if they're not spent on those items, why not? I think it's something that we should be doing and we should have been doing a long time ago. It'll begin with a pilot project for 3 state agencies to make sure the protocols are effective and working, and I feel very confident about the bill. I think it's a good measure for the citizens to ensure that we are acting as efficiently as we can with their money and to make sure that we're performing in a way that is effective to ensure the work of the government. So thank you very much.
At this time, we'll take questions of the patrons. Want to thank all the patrons for being here. I also want to give a special thanks to Kate Kruk, who is our primary contact for you with the policy work group. She does a wonderful job each week helping us provide the service to you. So this time, are there any questions for the patrons? Anne Marie. To whom would you like to address your question?
The speaker.
Oh, of course.
Tell us a little bit more about your hybrid plan.
Sure.
For example, the faculty contribution plan that they have, defined contribution plan, does require, with some institutions, investments in very safe instruments.
And the faculty plans would be excluded from the hybrid plan. This is simply an option that new hires or present employees can take. As we were explaining earlier, the present defined benefit plan is based on 3 factors: your average salary, your years of service, and a multiplier. The multiplier now is 1.7. This legislation proposes reducing that to 1.6. A hybrid plan would give the new employees who elected to opt into it a combination of a defined benefit plan that would have a multiplier of 1% and a defined contribution plan that could put as much as 9.5%, both employees' contribution and employers' contribution, into an IRA or a 401k plan. So that's basically what the hybrid plan does.
So they could put it in an IRA?
No, it's like an IRA. It's there. It's the money. But right now we have a plan, and I think well, as you referred to, college faculty have it. The people that are working on the governor's staff have it, and we all have it as employees through an optional, voluntary type of retirement plan. And what our money is invested in a list of mutual funds that the state provides you with, and they go from a cash management kind of account to a high growth plan, everything in between. And I must say, again, over the years, I've been doing it since I came here 24 years ago, and putting in a percentage of my salary, which is not big, not a lot. But over the years, it's gone up and down. But it's worth, a very significant amount of money, and it's taken 24 years, and I've weathered up and down cycles. But just that putting money away each month and having it compound free of taxes enables the employee to really get a sizable benefit.
Okay, so the press conference today was all about economic issues, but when I look at what's happening and what the priorities have been recently, it seems like it's been more social things, like ultrasound for abortion and the 1 gun per month law, the HPV thing. So which is the priority? Is it economic policy or is it social thing?
Well, I don't know who you addressed that question to, but I will jump in. I think the priority of this caucus is to do what's best for Virginia. And the priority of the governor And our priority has always been all along jobs. What can we do to make Virginia an even more business-friendly state? What can we do to encourage businesses to grow in the Commonwealth? And I think that's a lot of what we're doing today. A lot of this reform that you're hearing about is making the state more effective, more efficient. We're securing the future of the retirement system for the employees of today and those yet to come.
You're securing this by switching from defined benefit to defined contribution?
No, by offering them a choice of whether they want to go into a hybrid plan. It's really important to make that distinction. Last year, we passed a bill in the House, a defined contribution optional plan for new hires, and it went over to the Senate. And the Virginia Education Association really lobbied against it. Now, how can somebody lobby against giving a future employee a choice? You can continue to use the defined benefit plan if you want to. You can under this proposal. Or you can opt into a defined contribution plan, or in this case, a hybrid, part defined contribution, part defined benefit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Are there further questions?
For Delegate Byron.
Kathy?
Just curious if you have some examples of, I guess what you could say would be more egregious or burdensome regulations that you might want to take a look at.
Well, some of the more egregious and burdensome ones were, I think, bills that are separate from this. So you have the one that the schools wanted that had to do with the Labor Day closing, and that is in a separate bill and is not addressed in this. There were some other bills that were separated out so that they could debate it on within themselves. We have some of the requirements are that all proceeds from the sale of a school property go toward capital improvements. And this allows the locality flexibility to make that decision on their unique needs and how they should spend that money. There are situations like that. This came from a result of over 29 counties, 14 cities, and 7 towns. So they sat down in this task force and tried to go through those things that were identified by them, and that this is the result of what they say is a starting point to eliminate burdens on localities. You know, there's a whole list. I can give you the list of the whole
I can give you
2 dozen.
of something we're
Right.
dealing with in Fredericksburg.
Jump right in.
A circuit court judge under present law can require a city or a county to build a new courthouse. And the governor has legislation in that would eliminate that mandate. We've had to do it through the budget in Fredericksburg for the last 2 years and trying to do it for the next 2 years because the circuit court judge there has mandated they build a new $35 million courthouse, and some people think we really can't afford that at this point.
That's not part of your bill.
It's all part of the governor's mandate.
The whole complete package. There's a lot of different things. Some are local mandates, some are other policy issues that weren't considered under the local mandates.
We do have caucus that we're going to have to go to. Well, thank you for your questions. I want to close just by reminding you our first 3 weeks of this rollout have focused on jobs and economic growth, increasing access and affordability at schools through choice and competition, and today, how do we make government more efficient and effective? And those are our top guiding principles for our caucus this session. We will continue these sessions on Mondays at 11, so we'll see you next week. Thank you for coming.